Hey, welcome in, Panther fans, to another episode of Off the Rails Sports Saturday, episode 14, as we had to skip last week due to outside schedules for me and you, Kyle.
Mm-hmm.
But good morning. How are you doing?
I'm good. Enjoying the weather. I realize that we're at the time of year that it could change tomorrow, and I think it will change tomorrow. But I'm taking it. It's just teasing right now. It's very enjoyable.
It's confusing. You don't know if to put away your winter clothes yet, or to sit there and turn the air on, or turn the heat on, or you got both of them going on, and so it's definitely one of those times where something like this will get everybody sick. And then you're trying to go out and watch games, and like me and Coach Thayer did a softball game last week, and it got down to 30-something degrees. It was miserable, just because we wasn't prepared. You know, we didn't have enough layers of clothing on to do that game, and then all of a sudden you go do the game the other night for flag football, and got the AC on in the press box at 62 degrees because it's hot and humid and everything. But then you got the wind blowing 60 miles per hour, and so it's been crazy. But anyway, glad to be back. Glad that we ain't got to deal with what we had to deal with last Saturday, and that was over with. But today's guest, we finally got Coach Bryan Dupree in here, the new head coach for the football team. And Coach, welcome today, and thank you for being able to make some time for us. And again, like I said, welcome. How are you doing today?
I'm doing better than I deserve. It's a beautiful Saturday. The grass is green out on the practice field and the game field, and it feels like football season.
It does. It's getting there. I know y'all had the lift-a-thon Thursday night, and so kind of let us give everybody a little bit of how that went and what you expected and kind of the results and everything.
Our lift-a-thon, we have raised over $37,000.
There you go.
The boys have just worked incredibly hard. They have matched their incentives, pushing forward for some more, and it's been a total team effort as far as a fundraiser for the program and for the kids themselves. We had some unique events that went on at the lift-a-thon. It was more of an NFL combine type for the freshmen. And for the varsity, we divided the teams into 7-member teams, 7 teams, and they competed against each other for a lift-a-thon trophy. And the quarterback club and Miss Sadler and her business just went above and beyond. Apex Creations created our lift-a-thon trophy, and we wanted to make it just a unique night. And the kids just competed with one another and had a great time. It was a good turnout, and I believe everybody came out healthy, and we're getting geared up for spring football practice.
And that starts when? Talk about spring practice starts when?
It's going to start on Tuesday.
Okay.
Our helmets were sent back for reconditioning in January, and they're currently on a FedEx truck heading from Dallas, Texas.
So says the website.
That's what the website says.
Kyle knows all about that.
I was anticipating getting to start Monday, but according to the website, the helmets are supposed to be here Monday, so we have pushed the start to Tuesday.
Okay, and when fans can come out and watch. Practice is open to the public and stuff.
Fans can come and watch. It is open.
Just don't get on the field or in the huddle.
Yes, well, they can yell at me from the sideline.
Oh, wow.
They can yell at me from the sideline, but we're looking forward to 2 weeks of intense practice leading into our purple and white game on Friday, April the 24th at 6 o'clock in the stadium.
You want to give a little bit on what you're thinking, how that's going to go, or are you looking at dividing the team up since it's purple and white? You're going to look to divide the team up and everything, and then are you going to play a quarter, 2 quarters, the whole game, or?
We're planning on playing a regulation game. The team will be divided evenly between a purple and a white team. We haven't decided what the consequences will be for the team that loses. Usually that involves cleaning the practice field at the end of practices over the summer is what the purple and white game rides on. But it's mainly an opportunity for kids to be put into situations that might be during the season that they're maybe not too used to, and seeing who we can rely on and giving some kids a look at different things and opportunities, as well as showcasing the team to the fans.
And I think we had talked about trying to broadcast that. We had talked about it, hadn't put it in stone yet. I'm sure we'll be in the press box broadcast, but anytime we can get a chance to do that, we will. So let's kind of step back a little bit and go, give us a little bit of your history, Coach, kind of where you started at, maybe played and which school, and then kind of how you got into coaching and kind of how you got here to Portland, Tennessee.
I'm a little bit older maybe than what I look, so this might be a little bit lengthy, but I grew up in a small town in Alabama. It's called Rainsville, Alabama, and most people don't know where Rainsville, Alabama is, so I usually tell them I'm from Fort Payne. And if they've listened to country music, they know that the country music group Alabama is from Fort Payne. And I'm the youngest of a two boy household. My brother was a sports star, 6 years older than me. He played football, basketball, and baseball. And so daycare for me was being the manager of his sports teams. So I've been around sports since I was basically 5, carrying water, taking care of equipment, whatever the coaches needed me to do. And I was fortunate that when I went on into high school, the same coaches were my coaches that coached him. And basically, when I was young, I was more of a baseball and a basketball star than I was football. I was kind of a round kid, so to speak. And my mom believed in hearty biscuits for breakfast, so I would eat. And I came from a family where if the food was on the plate, you cleaned it regardless of whether you were hungry or not. Mm-hmm. So I was quite a hefty kid, and I tried to play football when I was in the 4th grade, but they wanted me to play defensive tackle, and I was basically the blocking dummy for the 5th and the 6th graders, and I just didn't really like it, and so I didn't play football until I was going into my 9th grade year. The head football coach at the time, who was a graduate at my high school, he was a high school All-American in 1976. Oh, wow. And he had returned to Plainview High School was the name of my high school, and he had returned as the head football coach. And from my brother's year, they were 5-5, and then from the year after him until I was a freshman, Plainview football was 3-7 every year, so we were kind of struggling. And when I was going into my 9th grade year, Coach came to me at the spring of 8th grade and asked me if I could play. And I told him that, it just hadn't worked out too well for me in the past, and I would have to convince my mom. And he said, well, the PE coaches have seen you throw. He said, and you've got a strong arm. And I was tall, and but I was still a little hefty. So the basketball coach put me on a diet where I had to write down everything that I was eating.
Oh, and wow.
He would mark off what I could not have, and so there went my hearty biscuits. So I lost.
First thing.
I lost 50 pounds in between my 8th and 9th grade year, and Mom let me play, and I just fell in love with the game. I had great teammates. Come to find out later on, it was not necessarily that I was just a great athlete, but I did have a strong arm. But my brother was just he was a great leader. He did whatever coaches needed him to do. In basketball, he was all-state and playing from the post position as a 6-foot player, which, that in today's time, that might be a point guard. Mm-hmm. But he was having to mix it up inside, and they put him on the football field, and he was a receiver, and the starting quarterback got hurt. And he had to go in as the backup, and his second play, he ran a 70-yard touchdown against a 5A school, and we were a 3A school in Alabama. So he was a sports star, and so I guess Coach just thought maybe sports was in our blood. And it also didn't help that his only choice between me as the quarterback or the other quarterback was a kid who could barely see over the table. He was short. And so, anyway, I started playing football when I was a freshman in high school and just fell in love with it. And then was fortunate when I moved into high school. I had 3 years, and our class wound up being 25-9 in 3 years, and we took our team back to the playoffs my senior year. when I was a junior, the seniors before us had been told how good they were, and kind of entitled, and they didn't practice hard. They were great guys, but they just didn't practice hard, and we thought that was going to be our season. And we 7-3 and did not make the playoffs. That was the 12th year in a row. And so my senior season, there was 5 of us that were seniors, and Coach brought us into his office and said, "We've lost a lot of talent. We're probably going to have a rebuilding year this year. You guys will be lucky to win 4 games." And he said, "I just want to be honest with you now." He said, "It's going to be a lot of hard work, but y'all going to be lucky to win 4." Well, we won 11. And
wow.
We lost in the state semifinals at halftime. It was we were ahead 14-0. I'll never forget this game. We were ahead 14-0. It's the only game my dad has ever missed that I played in. He had gallbladder surgery, and he was in the hospital. And we were on the other side of the state playing in the semifinals. And we were ahead 14-0 at halftime. And Coach walked in, and he was so fired up. I will never forget it. He was fired up. He holds up a state championship ring, and he said, two more quarters, boys, and this is what we're playing for." And then we went out in the second half and laid a goose egg, and we lost. But that knocked us out, and it still, boy, it hurts. I probably should have been the quarterback of his only. He's in the Hall of Fame in the state of Alabama, but he's also coached in Tennessee. He's coached in Georgia. He coached two separate terms at Marion County in Tennessee.
Yeah.
And he's currently back at my high school again for his 4th ring. And throughout his entire career, my senior season, we should have gave him a state championship. Had we won that night, the way Alabama did it at that time, was it alternated between a northern champion and a southern champion. We would have been the northern champion. So our state championship game would have been on our home field. So a team from Orange Beach area would have had to travel 360 miles to play a state championship game. So we should have won, and we didn't. But we took them back to the playoffs, and that was the first time since his senior season that we had been there. And from that point, for the next 10 years, a Plainview football team either played in the state championship game or at least the quarterfinals of the playoffs. And so it was just a great run. And so
flip the switch.
When I left high school, I was fortunate, and my original intention was to go to Auburn. I grew up an Auburn Tiger fan, and throughout in Alabama, you're either Alabama Crimson Tide or you're Auburn. And my dad was diehard blue and orange. And in fact, y'all will see when he comes to the ball games, he'll wear a Portland hat, but he's still got his Auburn stuff on. And so I just thought my destiny is Auburn University. And I was walking around at a college career fair, and there was a representative for Cumberland. And he said, "Y'all look like y'all play high school." But me and 4 of my friends, I said, "Do y'all play?" Well, we played high school. Were y'all interested in college? Well, what football player's not interested?
Yeah.
He said, "Well, we're starting our program back." And well, I don't think I've ever heard of Cumberland. My brother had went to Cumberland, but it was blue and white. This Cumberland was red and white.
Yeah.
I don't know. He said, "Well, we're starting our program back, and we're in the Guinness Book of World Records."
Yeah. Not in the way you want to be, though, right?
Absolutely not. The worst defeat in college football history. And so we came up and we visited, and I met Coach Kutras, who another Hall of Fame coach. It wasn't any, it's just kind of weird how my football journey is. I've ran into all these coaches that are just, it was just mind-boggling. After meeting Coach Kutras, I had no idea because I was from Alabama. And so I didn't know who Coach Kutras was.
So he coached at, was it Stratford?
Overton.
Okay, I knew.
The football stadium at Overton is named after him.
Okay.
And he was a high school, he was an amazing man. And I walked in the door, and at the time, Cumberland's football stadium, which is now their soccer stadium, it had 2 sets of portable bleachers with a ditch dug to the middle and a wheelbarrow flipped upside down. And he said, you guys are gonna have to visualize that there's gonna be a field house. This is and this was in almost May.
Oh.
There was nothing beside the baseball. There was nothing. It was just grass. And then there was, where the softball field, there was a tree that stood. The softball field would be our practice field. We would have to run post routes and avoid that tree. And he said, y'all have to visualize that there's going to be a field house and bleachers. And so I stepped out. I didn't really have any other option. It was either that or I was just going to go to college at Auburn, and I was just going to be another number. And so Dad said, maybe we should give this a try. So I did, and there was 140 of us that showed up for workouts at Cumberland. And the school's president was, I can't remember his first name, and he had been in a small college in West Virginia. His goal was to increase enrollment at Cumberland. Cumberland at that time had 800 kids, and it was close to closing. And so they brought us in to increase enrollment. And that's when I found out from News 2 that we could be famous for being the first team to do away with the 222. So our first game that year was against Campbellsville, and ESPN mobile fan pulls up. There wasn't enough. Everybody just brought their lawn chair and they just sat around there. Maybe 2 years ago. And some of those boys from Campbellsville were 23.
Oh yeah.
It was an eye-opening experience.
Yes, that's a little time.
But we didn't win the game the first year. We got close. And then the second year we beat Clinch Valley, which is now Virginia Wise.
Okay.
That was Cumberland's first win in 52 years of football. And then the very next year, Coach Moore came and helped. Coach Kuntras came in, helped Coach Kuntras, but then he took Coach Kuntras' place. And he took Cumberland to some playoff appearance.
Wow.
So Cumberland actually landed me at Beach. When I came to interview at Beach, Coach Roger Holmes, first thing he asked
Familiar name.
was, do you know Coach Moore? Yes, sir, I do. So that's when I found out Coach Moore had came from Beach. Coach Moore had actually started coaching at Beach and brought Coach Holmes there as his offensive coordinator. And so when Coach Moore retired, Coach Holmes became Beach's head football coach. And so I had a lot of experience with Coach. And, probably the strangest job interview I've ever sat through was with Beach. I came in the door as a 22-year-old. I'm in a suit and tie, nervous as a cat. I don't know anybody. In Tennessee, my original goal was to just go back to Alabama, and I was going to teach at my local high school. I hoped for. And I left Cumberland. I was going to graduate in May, but my classes had ended in December, and I just really didn't want to take an interim job. And so I went back and I worked at Ace Hardware in Fort Payne, Alabama for 6 months.
Wow.
I didn't. I was getting up at 4 in the morning and working until the sun went down 7 days a week. I did some bonehead stuff. Decided that I needed a new truck. and then I got a truck, so I went and got another truck. So financially, I didn't make good decisions. And so when Miss Klaus, she was the principal at Beach, she called and said we would like to interview you for a psychology position, assistant football job. And so when I came to Hendersonville, I walked in the door and there was a gentleman. It was in June 1995. I walked in the door and there's a gentleman in a tank top and a visor flipped around backwards and flip-flops standing in front of that. Interviewing Miss Klaus for a psychology job. So he stuck his hand over the desk and said, well, I'm Art Crook. I'm the department head of social studies. He said, I'm the volleyball coach. Nice to meet you, Coach Crook. And I said, Miss Klaus got her bra. She said, come in, Coach. I said, if you don't mind, there's a gentleman out here that wants to be a principal, Mr. Cook. He would eventually become Mr. Cook. So it was Art Crook. And so I'm sitting in a chair, and Coach Crook's sitting in a chair, and here comes Coach Holmes. And so Coach looks at my resume. On my resume, I just put what I played: football, basketball, and baseball, and who I played for. And so he sat down and he said, "Tell me about your high school offense." I said, "Well, for the first couple of years, we ran an I, and we ran a triple option." He said, "Triple option?" I said, "Yes." He said, "I was the sophomore quarterback, and Coach did not run the triple option because of me." I said, "Because I probably ran maybe a 5.40. Maybe." He said, "But I can throw." And I said, "The quarterback that he put the triple option in, he ran a 4.5. He was fast. He was fast." I said, "So I'm pretty sure that's my coach wants to run triple option." And he said, "Well, why did you become the quarterback?" I said, "Well, the third series of the first game my sophomore year, the starting quarterback blew his knee out.
Oh.
He made a great read, took off around the end, and when he did, the corner took his leg and there went his knee." So, and I still tell my guys this, especially my younger guys. I was a sophomore, and so I'm not going to get to play on Friday night. My games are going to be on JV. Practices are 2 hours long. Three series in, here I am. You better know, you better know what's going on. And so here I am in the middle of the game. And the thing about that game that I remember was playing Coach Pruitt was my high school coach, and he'd come back to Plainview from a high school which was called Pisgah High School. Plainview had never beat Pisgah in football, never. And when he got hurt, we had kicked a field goal. We were ahead 3-0, and then they'd come back and scored, and they were ahead of us 6-3. I had been pretty much daydreaming during practice, and so we're in the middle of the game. There's a couple of opportunities we have, but it gets down to the last minute and 20 seconds of the ball game. We got the ball on our 30-yard line. We're running a triple option offense. It's either, and I run a 5.440, so I'm not taking this to the house. So Coach calls a screen pass to a tailback, and the one thing that I can brag about myself is that I was good at making the ball disappear. And I tried to tell my quarterbacks this. You can always block people, and you don't physically have to do that. But if you will hide the ball and make it disappear and make them look for it, you can block half the defense.
That's a good point.
And so I made the ball disappear like Coach had practiced with me, and I threw it to my tailback, and he went 63 yards.
Oh, wow.
The paper story was Dupree throws 63-yard touchdown.
Exactly. We
I
don't count yards after catch there, do we?
No.
Absolutely not.
I'm glad he didn't run a 5.440. But he ran it, and we won. And I'll never forget that we won a lot of games. Plainview's had a lot of success, but I will never forget the look on Coach Pruitt's face. Then after that ball game, he was so emotional. He was so fired up. We were fired up. He was just a great coach. He very positive, I can't speak enough good things about him. And man, he just brought everybody up. It was just positivity. And you wanted to do good for him. I never wanted to walk as the quarterback. I never wanted to come off the side and see disappointment in his eyes. And believe me, I did some boneheaded things, but just to see him be so excited and be so bought in, and it still brings chills to me today. And it's just, I think that's why I want to be the kind of coach he was. Is, you got to be yourself. Roger Holmes, great coach. Great coach. I learned more football from him than I knew I was learning. I didn't realize it. And played football for Coach Kutras, and learned a lot of football from Coach Kutras. But Coach Kutras was an I coach, and Coach Holmes was a wing T coach. We ran the wing T my senior season at my high school, and different terminology. That's when I got to the beach. I thought, yeah, I ran the wing T before. And then he starts talking. I'm like, I've never heard this ever. And it's just different how everybody's got a little bit different terminology. And I'm kind of running in that a little bit with what's going on with our team. We are using Roger's system, and a lot of it's the same thing, but there is some terminology that's a little bit different. I think Roger, he runs triple option a lot more in the wing team than some base wing team coaches do. And the way I believe is you've got to have a base, but you also have to be able to pass. And if you can't pass, you put it in triple option. So it's hard to So hopefully over spring practice, that's what we're going to find out, is whether we're a play action pass team to add to our wing team plays, or are we a triple option team to add to our wing team plays. That's
Well, that kind of leads us into the next question, or the question I had was, what is your offensive philosophy, and kind of what is your defensive philosophy? Which wing T is what we're going with and everything, like you said. But what are some things that you want to do with the wing T, and what is something that the fans are going to see on a Friday night?
My basic thing is I'm not a flair coach. I'm not a flavor of the moment coach, so to speak. Our RPOs, either spread, one back. I want my running backs. I don't care if it's a quarterback, if it's a fullback. I call my right half, he's the Z back, and I call my left half, he's the H back. But they're all backs. And you can run buck, belly, ride, counter. Those are my 4 base plays. But I want all 4 of my running backs to be able to run the ball out of those series.
Yes.
So I run series. But I'm trying to show them that just because you're a quarterback, that doesn't mean you're going to be throwing. Or just because you're the right half, you're going to be blocking all the time. Or because you're the left half. I try to be cognizant of not being right-handed dominant. Teams, coaches, because I'm right. I like my right better than my left. But I try to be balanced, where my right half and my left half carry the ball equally. I don't really like to flip-flop them, because I really got to keys what we're doing. I want them to be different, a variety of motions. I do believe in the 4 base plays, but I want to use a variety of formations. So you've got your plays, but if you move the formation, you don't want different looks to the defense, like you're running different plays. But the kids aren't having fun. I'm asking them to play fast. Playing fast, that doesn't necessarily, it's like me. I was not the quickest 40 time, but I would learn what coach wanted me to do. And so when coach would call play, I could execute it without having to slash down and come down. To me, that's fast. Being physical, when the ball is snapped until the whistle, you're engaged with something. You're either blocking somebody, you're carrying fakes. If you're a receiver, you're running the DB off, he's playing coverage, whatever, but going until the whistle blows. And once you get your job done, then you have someone else take care of their job. The whistle. And so that's what I want to encourage them to do. And we all have different roles, and it's basically about going above and beyond what you're free asked. If you're doing that, you'll be a successful person. My offensive philosophy, I'm a run the ball coach. I want to run the ball. My view is, if we have the ball, the team can't beat. I don't want us to beat ourselves. So one of the things that we're going to work on is being disciplined, to where we're not loose with the football. We're not putting ourselves in negative situations. That's one of my goals, is 3 or fewer negative penalties. I put us behind the chains.
Mm.
It's one of my offensive goals. I want to score at least 70% of our possessions. I would like to score. And I would like to take time off the clock. To me, there's nothing more frustrating for a team that throws the ball than one that can't get into a rhythm, number one. But number two, they just don't have the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And the wing tee, you can frustrate a lot of people because they think they have you stopped, and then you stick the ball across the first down marker and you get it by a yard.
Mm-hmm.
And you line up and you do it again, and then you just keep doing it again. And I think if we can work on ball control and ball possession, eventually big plays will happen, and that will take care of that. Defensively, I don't want, and this is why I like the wing tee on offense. I don't want to put my defense in a bad situation, and if we can't score, then my next goal is to not give the ball to who we're playing past their 35.
Okay.
I would like for them to have to drive 70 yards because in high school, I just don't think teams will be disciplined enough to not make a mistake or us not be able to make a play on defense for them to repeatedly drive the ball the length of the field. And so I would like to take most of the pressure and put it on our offense and keep it away from our defense so that they can play loose and they can fly to the ball and they don't feel like they've got to go out there and make a play every time. That's the goal anyway. So that's what we're going to work on.
That makes sense.
What a lot of the talk after Coach Hicks was let go and you was coming in and everything, a lot of the talk around town was culture. How do you build culture, and what do you want your culture to be remembered as?
We are going to instill what is called pride, respect, ownership, work ethic, and loyalty. One of the first things that we're going to do is once spring practice is over, and we thought about waiting and doing this next year, but I want to give this year's senior class an opportunity to do this because it hasn't happened in a long time for Portland football. But we're going to reinstitute our champion Panther, our Super Panther, and our Panther clubs in our weight room. We're going to bring back the t-shirts. We're going back to bench press, incline bench, squat, and power clean as our 4 basic lifts. Combine the weight, 1,000 pound puts you in the Panther Club, 1,100 puts you in the Super Panther Club, and then 1,200 you're a champion Panther. And I would like to be able to give them t-shirts so that they can wear around. Coach Rogan actually has his. He had to dig it out of his
Oh,
box.
wow.
Yeah,
From when he had, yeah.
From when he had it, and we said, Coach, you can't wear that because, I mean, it might be a schmeedy on him now. And so we gave him a hard time, but
I think I would make him prove that he earns it.
he can do it.
Let's go right. Yeah, do it again.
Yeah. Let's see you do bench.
Yeah.
You don't want to see me do that because I'm going to tear all kinds of
I was going to say that hurt.
And,
That would hurt.
and Achilles. But we're going to reinstitute the Panther Club. We've got beams in the weight room that, and Coach Walker is I cannot do this because my handwriting is chicken scratch. But Coach Walker is good with painting. And so I would like to take a beam and a champion beam, a super beam, and a Panther beam, and put the kids' names on there. And it's kind of what we did with the Lift-a-thon trophy. We wanted to divide them into teams, let them compete with each other. So we did our maxing Monday through Thursday. We actually maxed on power clean Thursday, and then we had the Lift-a-thon Thursday night. So a component of where they were ranked in the Lift-a-thon came from their maxes. But I would like to reinstitute the clubs because it kind of gives them a goal to work towards over the winter while they're in, lifting weights. It kind of gets monotonous if you're not really working for something. And, to a 18, 17, 16-year-old kid, August is a long time away. To a 54-year-old, it is tomorrow. And so our view of time.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to give them something that, hey, we can compete for these shirts. Get your name on the beam, which is something that'll stay there. And then the Lift-A-Thon trophy. Each team was able to come up with a funky name. I think the team that actually wound up winning called themselves the Savage Sevens. And so the trophy is in a square. So we're going to engrave not only their team name, so it's going to say Savage Sevens, but it's also going to have all the team members. And if I'm fortunate to be here for a really long time with Dr. Woods, I hope to be able to fill all four sides of that trophy. And we want it to set in the weight room until next lift-a-thon. We have a weight belt that it's got Prowl written on it. It's got I gave my all for the city of Portland, and then it's got Let's Go Panthers on it. And it's heavy duty. The kids were fired up to see it. We've instituted the Panther of the Week that we give on Fridays, and we didn't give one this week because we're out of school Friday, and I want Friday to be the day that the kids have the best. They give their best effort, their best performance. If they struggle a little bit, maybe that's on Monday. A lot of times that's when you're learning new skills, maybe, depending on who we're playing. But then each day you should get a little bit better. And then Friday is game day. You have to be at your best on Friday. And so that's what we're
So
trying
you're
to do.
instilling that in April to get that mindset of Friday is your 100% day.
We're on. We're on. And so here we go. And so we're going to do that over the summer. Also, what we're trying to do is a little bit of leadership is also being assertive. And so we're working out on Monday and Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Wednesday, we don't really work out. We do some agilities, but what we start with is each class. We've got the indoor, we've got the weight room, and we've got our locker room. So each class is responsible for taking care of it. So we'll send the class down to the weight room. They clean the bars, make sure everything's tidy, the weights are where they're supposed to be. The group goes to the indoor, make sure that it's top notch. And then a group does the locker room, and then I do bathrooms. So I don't want to hear kids like, Coach, well, I'm doing bathrooms, so I'm not asking you to do what I'm. So we're all in this together. If you don't take pride in your program, no one else is, and it's not someone else's responsibility. It is ours. And so we want to take care of the stuff that we have and what we've been given from the people before us. That's a little bit of the pride part of Prowl. Is I'd like to recognize the guys who've made the program and that are around. I'm hoping past players will come to ball games and we can recognize them at ball games and say, this was what he did when he was in high school. This is where he's at now. We definitely want to show respect to that, and just take a little ownership. I'm definitely not entitled to anything. I'm fortunate to be here, and it's just by God's grace that I am here, and it's worked out. And we're hoping to show them that we work hard, and that we're loyal to each other. A lot of times in today's kid, they kind of don't want to be embarrassed with one another. So instead of worried about winning a ball game and pulling together, they're more worried about how they look to their peers. And I make so many mistakes, and I make boneheaded mistakes every day. And what I try to do is, if I do something dumb today, is tomorrow I just try to do that better, and then don't make that dumb mistake anymore. And then that way I can work on something else. It's just a journey. So I want some loyalty, and we're going to do that, and we're going to be loyal to have each other's back. And I think with dividing them up into the 7 different teams, they had different players from different positions. A lot of times you might have people who just play defense and people who just play offense, and I think that it doesn't gel. And if you've got kids that are receivers, linemen, and the quarterbacks, all together and they're having to pull for a goal, I think they can kind of see it through their eyes along the way. And let's all work together. Because, I mean, we're all in this.
Yeah.
And, so, anyway, make a long story short, my philosophy for defense is I don't want to give up big plays, but I think that's pretty much what every coach would say for defense. I just don't want to put my defense in a position to where they feel like if we don't do our job here, it's going to be our fault that we didn't ball. And I think we can control a little bit of that with our offense. We're all controlled. And that's just why I like the one T. I just think it gives you an opportunity to control the clock, control what's going on in the game. You can settle it down. Or if you need to, you can speed it up.
Any questions? No, we're going to take a small break. We'll give him a chance to catch his breath here.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I can go 2 hours without a break. I'm good, but I mean, you had nothing to drink there. I want to make sure you got something to drink, and you're good. But when we return, we'll have more with head coach Bryan Dupree here with Portland football. You're listening to Off the Rails here on Portland Sports Network. And welcome back again, Panther fans, to Off the Rails Sports Saturday. I'm your host, Miguel Almendarez, along with Kyle Eaton here. We're here today with head coach Bryan Dupree of the football team here. Kyle, you looking up some stuff while we...
Oh, man. So, most lopsided game in the history of college football was when Georgia Tech defeated Cumberland by a score of 222-0. That was a game that was 63-0 at the end of one. I don't think they had the running clock going, evidently. But something that either I never knew or I'd forgotten, that's the more likely case.
You forgetting?
Yeah, Cumberland had disbanded their football team the year before. So they were trying to cancel this game. And the coach of Georgia Tech football team, John Heisman, familiar name, was also the coach of the baseball team. And the previous year, Cumberland had defeated Georgia Tech in baseball 22-0. So Coach Heisman said, "You're not canceling." And he threatened legal action if they didn't play that football game because he wanted revenge on that baseball. And he took it out early. So 222-0. I don't know how you get away from that.
I don't know who you play after a certain point. I mean, you pretty much cleared the bench, or you should have, on both sides.
Look,
I think
crazy.
that was Georgia Tech was going to charge Cumberland $3,000 for the gate for that, and so the local dean went to the fraternity Kappa Sigma and asked the boys at Kappa Sig, "I mean, y'all want an expensive, all expense train ticket to Atlanta?"
Train ticket. Yes.
So there's might have been 15 fraternity boys on that weekend. And when they put them on the train, that's when they informed them that, oh, by the way,
You played a football game?
College football game. So that's how that.
I didn't know that story.
That's how that went. And when I was in school, there was a book at the bookstore. It was called "You Dropped It, You Pick It Up," and it's a book about what happened on that day. And everybody was always saying that Burt Reynolds was going to star in that movie. But I don't think the movie ever came out.
I like that. You dropped it, you pick it up.
That's a good title.
If I was, if I was down at halftime, 126-0, I might say the same thing.
Coach, coming into you were named head coach, and you come in. You had the hard time of still dealing with your duties at Liberty Creek, and then trying to get here to Portland and everything to kind of evaluate and see what was going on. How did you evaluate the team after being named head coach? What was your process? I know we had talked before, and you said you watched, film. You started watching film on this past season and everything. But how did your process going on? How to evaluate and everything?
I started by watching their game film from last year. I have seen from White House through Nolensville, and tried to identify the players that were returning. And also talking to coaches that are already on staff about certain players and what they were thinking and where we were going from that point. And I am still at Liberty Creek in the mornings. I'm able to get to God's country at 12. And so now I'm beating kids into fourth block, and I'm actually learning names. I've learned names, which is good, and just fitting into the culture that Portland football is currently at. And so yeah, it's been a process.
Right now, do you know about how many do you have that's listed on the team now? And I would assume this wouldn't count, or you could. I don't know if this would count the middle school 8th graders that are coming over or not.
We the rising freshmen, we've had 38 kids to come to workouts, and we have 34 kids in fourth block. A couple of kids, which I'm not going to name names, but a couple of kids have decided that they're going to graduate early in the fall, and so they're in fourth block, but they're not going to participate with Portland football.
Mm-hmm.
But so we're running about 35 in fourth block and 38 freshmen. So we'll be in the low 70s, maybe close to 80 by the time the summer starts in May.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to start off season. Summer workouts will start on May the 26th, the day after Memorial Day.
Okay.
And we're planning on practicing every day in May and June until the dead period, so the kids have an opportunity to be around Portland football. I can catch up with them, and they can catch up with me.
Yeah.
And so some coaches that I've coached for, we would put stipulations as to you got to make X amount of workouts in summer, or you have this kind of running.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to put a stipulation on the number of workouts that the kids make. I am presenting it from the viewpoint of this is where we are, this is where we want to go, and this is how we're going to get there. And if you're going to buy into the vision, then you need to be here. And I'm going to be here. So our workouts are going to be 8 to 11. We're going to have weights, conditioning, and then field work every day. And so sometimes that will, a kid may decide, well, I don't really want to go to football today because we're just working out and we're just running. And so if coach says I've got to be there at 23 out of 25, I can
You
miss
can
today.
choose the ones, yeah.
But if we're doing field work, that's position work that
If you want to start and get playing time, then that's where you start getting that.
You need to be there.
Yeah.
And so that's where we're looking at. I've just never understood that if you say 20, whatever it is, 24 out of 26, whatever the stipulation is, and you didn't make it, then we've got to go out here for the next 2 days and run 110s. I don't understand how that makes up for the practice time.
Mm-hmm.
I want to encourage the kids to be there because of the practice. The weights, they're there to keep you from getting injured, make you stronger. The conditioning, I am a believer in conditioning. I believe that tough times don't last, tough people do. And I don't understand track guys. I don't understand cross country guys because they like running. And I do not like running, but it makes you a little bit mentally tougher. And you may think you're going to die while you're running through it because it's hot and you're sweating. But once you make it through it, you realize, well, it wasn't so bad. Until coach says, well, tomorrow we just got to do more. And so, but I just think it makes you a mentally tough player. And I want our kids that when the game gets going and the game gets tough, that instead of finding an easy way out, we work through it and overcome whatever the obstacle is. And I think conditioning adds to that. If I'm in good shape and I know what's going on, and I feel like someone else who is not in as good shape, then when the going gets tough, they may take a step back, and that could be the advantage that we have. 'Cause right now, everybody is working out, everybody's conditioning, everybody's going to go through spring practice. So we've got to do something that separates us from our competition if we're going to be successful.
Are you seeing jumps in the weight room, or is that an outcome that you don't normally see until you actually get on the football field during practice and during the one-on-ones?
I think coach said that we saw on average about 30 pounds worth of jumps in their maxes from the last time they maxed until now. So we are seeing some gains in some players now. With a 4-day-a-week workout or 5 days, you know, you can see some pretty good jumps. When you start adding in, you practice, and then there's a couple of days. Like our workout during the season is probably going to be 2, maybe 3 days, and then there's going to be days where you don't work out just because of wear and tear on the body, or because you're having to watch game film and scout an opponent, things like that. So your big weight gains won't happen when the season is going on, but you still have to work out just so that your body doesn't get worn down, which makes you prone for injury. And so, but I think there's a fine line there between how much you do lift and weight-wise, and just practice.
What is your short-term goal and then long-term goal for the program? As in your short-term, within this first year, what are some of your goals to accomplish in that first year, and then your long-term, 3+, 5+ years, and everything? What is your goals with that?
Well, right now, I've got offensive goals, I've got special teams goals, and I've got defensive goals. And I wouldn't say that I necessarily have a view as to where our team's going to be at the end of this season. I want our seniors to give me a list of goals of what they want accomplished. And one of their top goals right now is to host a playoff game. And they made the playoffs last year, but this year they want to host the playoff game. And my question to them would be, what are we going to be willing to do to host the playoff game? Because that entails beating everybody in our region minus one team. And my goals would be, right now would be, I want to earn a spot on coach's team before summer, because it's spring practice. So I need to show something in practice to where coach will have faith in me to put me on the field. And then once May rolls around, then my goal is I want to outwork a White House Blue Devil, because that's who we play week 1. And then the next week will be Liberty Creek. So I'm going to take one team at a time. I don't want to go too far in the future. I do realize coaching in this area, I put it on my resume. I wore a shirt when they introduced me. I do understand that the biggest rival for Portland is the White House Blue Devils. I lived in White House for 15 years across the street from White House High School. So I'm quite familiar.
Wow, did you bother to mention that during your interview? I don't know things.
That I lived in White House?
Yeah.
Well, you know, there's just something about the water in White House. It's blue, not
Figuratively and literally, yeah.
blue, not a good color.
No, go ahead.
And long-term speaking, what I would like for kids to be able to say that I played for a coach that prepared me, not necessarily just for football, but for the future. And I want kids. I feel like if you ask kids that played for me in the past, our new kicking coach, his name's Christian Lee. He lives in Portland now. He was Station Camp's kicker in 2007, probably 2006, 2007. And now he lives in town. He went on to college, but he kicked at Wofford. He kicked for the Nashville Cats. I think they were called the Nashville Women. And so he kicked in the and I told him, I think if he could hit an arena league goalpost,
Yeah,
I think
you're right.
teach a kid to hit our goalpost.
Yeah.
And so he's going to come on board, and he's going to kick. He's going to be our kicking coach. So he played for me. Richard Bailey lives in town, and he's a youth league coach. He played running back when I was at the station camp. He's one of my running backs. So what I have brought former players on my staff before. When I was at Knox Dawes, my offensive coordinator was Eugene Shaw. Ian Shaw was an all-state wide receiver for Beach. So I've had former players that have come back and I keep in touch with them. And I like seeing what they're doing in life. And so I hope by going through my program that's what I'm prepared for is success. I don't know if college football is in the future for a kid. Less than 1% of high school athletes will play college. I was fortunate in that Cumberland was just starting this program. But it opened, Cumberland, I didn't know it at the time. That was 30 years ago. But Cumberland opened up doors for me, and it still opens doors for me now. And I've even been able to talk about the Cumberland football game today.
Yeah.
And so you just never know. And
Where things lead to.
yeah. I want to create a program in towns. This is a football town. It deserves a great football program. And Friday night, you've got the greatest concession stand. Mr. Moore swears by food, and you've got the training and just the setting. My hometown, similar to this, one of the big things I remember is coach would always take the quarterbacks out before the rest of the team. And of course, you got your butterflies and you're nervous, but when you walk out the door, you would hear the band playing, you could smell the hamburgers cooking, just the excitement in the stadium. And you don't get that in any other sport. I coach baseball, and baseball games didn't provide that. I coach basketball, and basketball games didn't provide that. But football can. Just a sense of pride and small town atmosphere. We're wearing the town's colors. I'm kind of glad. But I just want to be a positive influence on our kids, and I want this to be a place that when the kid graduates, he knows he's welcome and feels like his coach cares about him. Because we do. Wins and losses. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't put a number on wins and losses. I've been fortunate that I've coached for programs that have been successful because they did things the right way. And they treated people correctly. And so if I may not win a game, but if they say that, man, coach, he treated me right and he taught me some valuable lessons, and I feel like I've success.
Talking about past players and everything, do you have anything in the works, or do you have anything that you have thought of or you've done in the past where you might reach out to alumni and bring them back into the fold, trying to get alumni to come to the game, or maybe be part of the quarterback club or something there?
I would love to get a list of the past teams, roster-wise, and I do have a Portland leader, the news reporter. His name
Mad Dog Curtis Marlowe.
Curtis gave me a list of all the records, so I have the records for the entire program. I would like to get a list of alumni who live in town, and when they come to ball games, announce them and recognize them and bring in past champions and just make a big deal about it. I would like to do that. We've talked about with the Portland Youth League having a youth league night where the kids can come. We're going to have a coaching clinic on April the 18th. And Coach is going to speak at it, but we're trying to tie the middle school, high school, and the youth league together. And so we're going to have a coaching clinic for the youth league just to exchange ideas and just get to know each other. My goals on Saturdays is not only to deal with Portland High School football, but I'm going to attend some Portland Youth League football games. I don't know if I'd be able to attend every Saturday, but I would like for those kids to see who the football coach is at Portland High School, and the same way with the middle school kids. And I want them to feel like they're a part of the program. And if a kid lives in the Portland city limit or in our school zone, I want them to want to be a Portland Panther, and I want them to know that they're valued and that we appreciate them. And sometimes that's by presence. And I don't know, I think that might have separated me from some of the candidates is that I do have I've got a middle school background along with my high school background. So I've got kind of the viewpoint of being the middle child. And so I know,
There you go.
I know where, sometimes the babies are looked at real good and the high school kids are, but the middle school kids are just kind of there. And I don't want them to feel that way. And I've always told people there's really no difference between youth league, middle school, high school, or even the NFL. They just move at a faster pace. But it's still it's football, running, blocking, and tackling.
Mm-hmm.
And I think to each individual person and whatever level they're at, then that's the most important. And I want to support that.
I do like the way you reach out to your feeder programs, and you reached out to, well, now it's going to be one middle school team. It was two, but now, and you knowing Coach Combs and Coach Lane already because you being at Liberty Creek and being at the middle school already, but reaching out to them, reaching to the youth league, it was done in the past, and then it kind of got away with. It's kind of like no one wanted, like you said, it's a Saturday. You've got stuff to do on Saturday, not only watching what you just got done on Friday, but then you got stuff around the house that you got to deal with and everything. And it almost became like a chore to have to go and deal with the youth and everything, and it just kind of fell to the wayside, in my opinion, from looking back all these years, to where we have coaches in the past that just kind of, well, this is what I got, and this is what we're going to deal with, and then, oh yeah, we'll do a youth night, we'll go, recognize them, but not really going down there and talking to the coaches, talking to the kids, or even, we have talked in the past. I've talked to several people in the past, and trials don't win and everything up until recently. We went over and talked to some of them, and they was like, we try to implement the system that's at the high school, at the middle school, and at the youth, and that way one time they get to the high school, they're familiar with the terminology, they're familiar with everything, and now you just got to get better at it. I can see that correlating too, but to go and reach out like you've done, I really do. That's one thing I'm really happy to hear about because, it hasn't been done in 10, 15 years. So, what is your approach to booster clubs and fundraising?
Well, I do not like fundraising, number one. I love my booster club.
I don't think anybody likes fundraising.
No, I don't think anybody got up on a Saturday and said, "Ooh, I love fundraising." Now, that's kind of why this lift-a-thon's been a little bit different than in the past. Is our kids, we gave them a list of incentives, and so the minimum incentive was a $500 donation. If you achieve $500, first we asked, if you get $250 by a certain date, we bought you a pizza.
Mm.
And so who doesn't want a pizza? And then if you did $250 by the next date for a total of $500, we added $100. So you got $500, you get $100. Then that gave you another bump on the incentive list. And so we gave them a range. It ranged all the way from $500 to $2,300. And then there's a list of things that the kids would get. And if you do the minimum and you $500, you get t-shirts, you get shorts, you get long compressions, you get girdles, you get mouthpiece, you get game socks, sweats, a quarter zip, and it's a lot of stuff for $500. So we raised a lot of money. Kids worked hard, but all the money is going to go back to the kids. And I think sometimes if you just ask a kid, hey, we got to fundraise, so we need to get out and fundraise. But then they never see anything. It just
Right.
comes in and the kid never gets anything back. They don't see. And so we're gonna get it back. Once spring practice is over, we've still got some kids that have not gotten to the player package, and some of them the program is going to support. And so once spring practice is over, we'll sit down and say, all right, here's what everybody got, get it ordered for them to school, and then here we go. And so some kids raised enough money to where they wanted their own helmet. And so at a certain level, I want to say the $1,300 limit is they get a Speed Flex. And then if they raised all the way to $2,300, they get a choice of a Shutt helmet. Some of them like the Shutt and some of them like the Speed. And so the Axiom. And so they'll get their choice of one of those two helmets, plus Letterman's jackets, and then other stuff along the way. So there's just a lot of incentives to where they can hit these different levels. And fundraising is a necessary part, and you just can't rely on Gates to this point to survive. Really, just the referees is a big cost on game nights. And you've got referees you need to pay, you've got stadium cleanup, stadium upkeep, and not only do we have stadium, but we also have practice field, and we've got the indoor. There's some improvements to the indoor that we probably need to make, and that's gonna cost money along the way that we're just gonna have to fundraise for. And in order to do that, I wanna have incentives as well, so that not only are the kids working for a goal, but they're also being rewarded.
Right.
Everybody wants to be
That's a good point.
told you're doing a good job.
It's just not, hey, go raise the money and hey, you got new turf in the indoor. That, that's not something for the kid to, but I understand what you're saying right there. I can tell you right now, with the number you threw out earlier today, this morning, 37,000 is what you said from Thursday night. That, it's funny because we used to sit around and you're going, hey, we got 12,000, hey, we got 15, 16,000 is what you're raising up to high school. Coach Lane's over here hitting, low 20,000, mid 25,000 on his Panther Combine when he does it. And you're like, man, what's going on? Why can't you get that? But to hear 37, I don't think the high schools hit 37 in big time. Yeah. And that's great to hear that. You got people out there willing to give, and the kids are willing to go out there and ask. And that's part of it. You have to go out there and go, hey, this is what we're doing, and that really means that I think the town's looking for the change and looking for, the reports that everybody's getting about you and everything is in my perspective, it's good, and they're willing to sit there and see this change and ready to get on that train and see how this ride goes. So how do you engage with parents? I know in the past you had coaches go, hey, don't text me, don't do this, you just email me. And you had they had different ways on how you engage with parents. If somebody wants to get a hold of you, how do they get a hold of you? How do you like to engage with parents? Because I know you just can't go, hey, here's my phone number, because that thing will be ringing off the wall 24/7.
Well, I'm going to say this. You may think I'm crazy. I am going to give out my phone number. But I'm not going to do that until school's out in May. We're going to have a parent meeting. It'll probably be the last day of school that night. We'll have a parent meeting. When I'm officially a Portland teacher, fourth block is actually me, then I can set some kind of standards and some rules and procedures and things. And so there's going to be procedures that they're going to follow in the weight room. There's going to be procedures that they follow in the locker room. And part of that is notifying coach when something's up, whether they need to miss, doctor's appointment or whatever. And I don't want a parent to say, well, I don't have your email. So I'm going to give them my cell phone number, and they're going to call me or text me.
Okay.
And that'll be the quickest way to get a hold of me. Right now, what I've done is I do a Google Classroom for the kids. Everything that I put on my Google Classroom, I put on Remind for the parents. And then I use the PHS app. And for my freshmen, that's the JV. If someone's listening and they want to know what does the football schedule look like, I've got the JV schedule that's on the JV app on the PHS app, and then the varsity, the sophomores through the seniors right now is on the main varsity page. And what I like to do is I sit down on Saturdays and say, okay, this is what we're doing for this week, and I try to send that out on everything. And but they will eventually have my cell phone number, and if that comes back to blow up, then y'all can call me a knothead.
Talking about the schedule, we was talking about a little bit before we came on air. This is the second year of the schedules and everything. After the fall, the schedules have to be redone. Of course, everybody in the region will say the same. it's the non-region games, the Liberty Creek, Springfield, East Robb, DA. You know, just kind of off the top of your head, what are you looking for? As in, can you? Is there a team that's on there now that you would love to sit there and say, hey, let's keep you on the team, keep you on the schedule? Is there a team on there and going, hey, you know, this is going to be it? I don't think, you know, not because you're afraid of them. It's just not. Yeah, you know, kind of thing. And is there someone that's not on the schedule? You're going, man, I would really like to sit there and be able to get them on the schedule.
I like big gates. I do. And, I don't mind playing. Stiff competition.
Right.
I believe that makes you better. At the same time, you got to watch out for the health and the benefit of your own team as opposed to someone else. You know, I'd say it this way. I'm sitting here with the 35 freshmen, and the bench is sitting there with almost 60. And they're trying to form a freshman league. And we're just not to, number-wise right now, we're just not to a point where we can afford to do that. And so our freshmen plays JV with our sophomores. We have a full schedule. The only JV game we don't have is on Labor Day night. I don't mind playing. I love football and it's Monday night, but you know it is Labor Day, and so they didn't schedule a JV game on that night. As far as who is on our schedule and who might come on our schedule, that would be left to Dr. Woods and who we would like to see. There's not a certain team that I do not want to play. I would say that I would like to stay away from the private schools that are in our area because they tend to try to recruit their kids. And I would just like to stay away from private schools. But as far as any other team that's in this area, Greenbrier, I think we should continue to play Greenbrier. I think it's a healthy rivalry. We're both close. We're local. We're big gates for both teams. It's easy travel for each other's fans. I want our fans to fill their stadium out next year, so I'd like to keep Greenbrier. East Robertson, of course, was the Coach Brooks connection to Portland, but East Robertson and Portland are neighboring towns. I was a former defensive backs coach at Westmoreland, and Coach Harris was the defensive coordinator, and so I'm pretty sure Coach Harris would like to try to beat me. And so I would like to see Westmoreland come back on our schedule. Gallatin, Coach Gallatin's had some conversations. I think Portland and Gallatin will be a fun game to play. And so there's not a particular team on our schedule now outside of Davidson that I would be two teams. I've got to list the next team might be Springfield just because the amount of fans maybe gate-wise. So, you know, Portland, Springfield, you're still talking about a good football game.
Kind of closing the book there on your philosophies on this and that and everything. We'll get into more football here on this next hour here. What would you say is your favorite drill that you swear by?
My favorite drill, I like doing half-line drill. That way your kids, it's not total team, but you can put best on best. And you can narrow it down into a confined situation, and you can go as fast as you need to go, or you can slow it down as you need to go.
You can control that.
Yeah. But you can get some good competition going.
Yeah.
It's like that. You get some good healthy reps.
What is in your opinion, what's the most important position on the field?
To me, must be expect something since it's a quarterback. Absolutely not. The most important position to me is your son. He touches the ball every play that you have on offense. No, it does not matter how good your quarterback, how good your running back is, or how great your wide receiver is. If the ball can't get to your quarterback consistently, you're not going to have a very successful play. And so it's kind of why I prefer under center as opposed to shotgun simply because the exchange is a little bit more consistent. There's too many variables that can happen. Coach Holmes would always say, if you throw the ball, 3 bad things are going to happen to you. If you run the ball, really only 1 bad thing is going to happen. So I like my percentages. And so the more the ball's in the air, the more bad things that can happen to you. So that's why I would say, son, anytime I've had success anywhere I've been, we've always had a good center. I can't count the times where at the end of the season, it's like, we had a good season, and we didn't have a bad snap one time, not at all. And I've had some centers before that thought they were running backs. I've had a kid cry, oh Lord, boy, center, because he thought he was a back. And I'm like, look, man, you got good hands, and you get to touch the football more than the quarterback. I was like, I can put my quarterback in motion and just snap it through the tailback. So why would you not want to? Kids just
all eyes on you on every play.
Yeah, the kids don't see that. And, you know, if
they don't write stories in the paper about the center.
no,
It's the quarterback and the running back that gets the stories, and gets the colleges looking at them and everything. The center don't get that, so that's what everybody's looking at. So, yeah, definitely.
well, it's like that tailback that I threw my first pass to. He caught it and ran it 63 yards, but the paper said 63-yard touchdown pass.
And
Oh,
in most people's heads, they got their own version of that play, right? When they hear it that way.
that's correct. So
With all the years that you've coached, what would you say is the biggest mistake coaches make at the high school level?
for me, personally, I think is assuming that a player may not be able to play a certain position just because he walks in the door. And you immediately, this is another thing Coach Holmes always told me. He's like, never take anything personal and never make it personal. He said, if you ever make it personal, it's going to cloud your judgment. He said, if you take it personal, it's going to cloud your judgment. And, I'm human, and there's been some kids I've had before. I'm going to use him as an example. His name's Alex Broom. He was the running back for the Boston College Eagles. And he played middle school football for me when I was at Knox Knolls.
Wow.
And when he walked in the door, he wore glasses, and he looked like he had a little bit of a belly. And he was a rising 7th grader. And this kid can't play running back. He's going to have to play something else other than running back. I have never had a kid that quick feet inside of a 2-yard. He could stop on a dime as a 7th grader, and he just great kid, and he'd go on and he would win the state championship at David Lipscomb, and then he became running back for the Boston College Eagles, and so to me it's just sometimes the apple's not always what it appears to be.
Yep.
And so you need to keep an open mind and give kids an opportunity and let them prove what they can do and what they can't. And that's what I hope we do. And,
When people, if they sit down and if they were able to watch film on your team, or sit in the stands and watch your team play, what would you say? What do they see immediately?
I hope they see a team that is disciplined and is organized and is working together. Is what I hope they are seeing. And I don't want to. I tell my kids this: they don't have to draw attention to themselves. Just playing football is going to give you attention, and so you don't have to do anything extra to get that attention. And so, a lot of times. Right now, there's still a little bit of this. We're trying to get past it, but there is still a little bit of this culture of, as long as I outdo you, I'm okay. And I don't want them to just want to outdo you. I want Portland to outdo Lighthouse. And then I want Portland to outdo Liberty Creek. And I tell my kids this, and I tell anybody I've coached with, me personally, I don't care if people know that I'm the head football coach. I don't want the accolades. That's not what I'm in this for. I love Friday nights. I love the band. I love the atmosphere. I love the game. And I want to see, there's nothing I like better than when the game's over, people are bragging on the kid and the look on the kid's face because they've had success. I could care less if I know who the coach is.
Right.
And what I worry about once the game's over, this has been my big issue. When the game's over, I automatically start worrying about what we're going to do for the next week.
Yeah.
You know, when the game's been over 30 seconds,
Yeah.
and I'm already, okay, what are we doing now? You know, and so I want them to work hard, and I hope somebody that's sitting up in the bleachers can say, hey, these guys are working hard, these guys are working together, and they're doing what's best for Portland.
At what level, doesn't matter, NFL, college, high school, do you pull most of your ideas from, or you get some of the things that you're trying to implement from?
I don't know how many coaches would, but I watched the UFL game last night. Did y'all know there's a UFL? Okay, I watched that football game last night. And so I try to watch what they're doing and apply it to, on offense, apply it to the winning team and see what we can do. And what's funny is a lot of the things that we do, they do it, and they just do it from a shotgun. And so in this new league, a lot of it's just your read option. And it's just the option. It's just doing it from the shotgun.
Yeah.
And so they call it new stuff, but nobody is really recreating the wheel. They're just calling it something different, and they're just taking a player and they're positioning him a little bit differently. Is basically all they're doing. And so I enjoy watching the ball game, but I try to watch it from the viewpoint of, hey, if I was that guy's coach, what would I do? And if I was calling the play, what would my play be next? And sometimes I can do it, then sometimes I'm not. I'm just like anybody else. But I do like having a system where everybody that's on your staff knows this is okay. When the going gets tough, we may try something, but when the going gets tough, this is what we're going to go, and this is what's going to work. And I just believe in being. I'm a KISS guy. Keep it simple. Yeah. And so I want our system to be to where the kids can say, all right, this is going gets tough. This is what we're into, and we can execute this. And so
that leads into these other questions. I'm sort of just kind of smiling because you're gone. You're making this so easy.
He's segueing.
Yeah. You're leading. You're bringing it in nice and easy. So, are you more about the system and having the player adapt to the system, or are you about taking the system and trying to adapt to the player?
I know my system, which is Coach Holmes' system. So I think any good coach sees what's going on at successful programs and steals. That's basically what I've done. And I'm not a genius by any means. And so I'm also not too prideful to know that if School X is doing it this way and they've had this kind of success over this period of time, and our athletes are similar in stature, then we probably need to do it similar to what School X is doing. And so, but there's some times to where I think you can do things inside of your system that is good for a particular set of athletes. And so, with me, I want to run buck, I want to run belly, and I want to run counter, and I want to run right. I want that to be our base set. And then our triple option and our midline option, we may be able to do that. And then we may come out of spring practice and say, we're not an option team, but we are a play action pass team. So we probably won't do the option, but we'll run our base plays, and then we'll be a play action pass. And then there may be years where you come in in, and you've got 6'4" wide receivers that are blazing, and we know how to put in a package to where we pass.
What is your bread and butter offensive play?
My favorite play is either buck 42, 21 special, or belly 34, 33 G-Bob. And what I try to do is put the defensive end in conflict. And the buck and the belly, my belly is ran towards tight end. My buck is ran towards tight end. And then our sweeps, which is what a lot of teams would call power, our sweeps are ran away from the tight end. That's kind of our weak side buck sweep. But it's just, you got to have an extra blocker in there since you don't have a tight end.
Mm-hmm.
But I try to pay attention to what the defensive end is doing. And so if you can get the defensive end closing real good, then you've got buck sweep. And he's getting blocked by that wing back. Well, when he gets tired of getting blocked by that wing back, he's eventually going to try to take him on. And when he steps out, the wing back just misses him and goes and blocks the backer. And we kick him out with a guard. Now you've got the belly. And so I like to give them a steady dose of the buck sweep and belly. And then occasionally the ride, which a lot of teams call weak side belly. And the ride and then the counter are my change-up play.
So you got all the listeners sitting here. We're in the huddle. You come into the huddle. You're gonna call a play. Call one of your plays, numbers, words.
Yeah, I like hearing
Snap
that.
count.
That's pretty cool.
Well,
So, like I said, he's leading me
Yeah,
into
that
these
was,
what I got.
He threw some terminology I hadn't heard before, but I felt like I could run it.
okay, well, my kids, this is what's been a little different for them. And so if you start at the center, my whole numbers, all my evens are going right, and each position is a whole. So the center has two. So the right side of the center is a 0, and the left side of the center is a 9. And then your right guard is 8, the right tackle is 6. If there's tight end on the right, he's 4, and then anything outside the tight end is a 2. And then on the left side, it's the left guard is 7, 5, 3, and 1. And so they basically start low, and then they come high. And the reason why the center is a 0 is because really it's 10. But he only has 2 legs. So Coach Holmes threw the one out. And I won't say what he said, but Coach Holmes threw the one out, and so the right side's 0, the left side's 9. And so when you go into the backfield, because you've got your whole numbers, and in the backfield, the quarterback's number is 1. So any team number I call, that means the quarterback is carrying the ball, and then the whole number. So if it was 14, it'd be the 1 back to the 4 hole. Then you've got buck, belly, right, count. So I could run 14 buck special if I wanted to, and that would be the quarterback. Special is telling both guards to pull. Or if I say belly, belly's back, buck is backfield action, belly's backfield action, ride is backfield action, and counter is backfield action. And so buck's the play. 42. This is what happened. I split ends beside me. We're in the huddle. Center's called it. He's got his back 5 yards from the huddle. Unless we do a sugar huddle. There may be a year where I have a smaller Z back. I've always wanted to do this because Gus Malzahn does it. But I want to bring a smaller back. I tell my lineman, turn your back to the ball and form a wall. So we form a wall. He's like, now this wall is where the defense can't see into our huddle. So when the play starts, I want to keep this wall as the play's going. That's just how I try to talk to them. So we're 5 yards from the ball. On the huddle. Quarterback's going to step in the huddle, and he's going to say something like, Dallas right, buck 42 special on 1. When he does that, my center, my tight end, and my split end is going to leave the huddle, and the huddle's going to close. And then he's going to repeat the snap count. And then we're going to break, and we're going to go to line of scrimmage. And so they're going to get set. And if we're in Dallas, that means my left half, he's the 4-back. So I said buck 42 special. So buck is backfield action. You always have a back diving into the line, and a back going parallel, and a quarterback coming off. So if it was buck 42, my fullback's hitting the left side A gap. The tailback, which is the H-back, is going to come in motion, then he's going to get the handoff. Both pulling guards are going to the right. The tackle, the tight end, and the wing back are blocking down. So I've got down blocks, kick outs, the guard lead, and then my back's gonna put his foot in the ground, and he's getting north and south. So that would be a play call. And if that defensive end is fading out, so if he's getting too nosy and he's making it hard on my wing back, he's getting into play. So let's say my first play was Bucksley takes special and that defensive end is making a play. First of all, I'm going to yell at my wing back. But the next play is going to be like another 34 because it's going to look, when the play starts, it's going to look just like Bucksley special. So that end thinks he's smart. When he steps out to take on my wingback's going to avoid him. And we're going to kick him out with the guard and we're going to go underneath him. And so those two plays kind of go back and forth with each other. And what I'm trying to do, I will not necessarily script. Some coaches do this. I won't necessarily script 20 plays, but I will script my first 4. And inside of my first 4, we're going to line up in some type of unbalanced formation because I'm trying to figure out how that defense is adjusting to our unbalanced. I'm looking for a soft edge. Is what I'm looking for. And so I'm not disclosing Lincoln secrets, but that's just how the one tell.
Yes. How do you attack different defenses with your offense? And you just kind of explained some of it right there. You're going to go unbalanced, see if they adjust and everything. But if you were seeing a 3-4 defense or a 50 defense, depending on how old you are and what you're looking at, or are you looking at a 4-3 defense, or if you got an odd or even defense, we'll just put it like that. How do you go about attacking them? Are you looking for certain things that you attack them? Do you attack a odd man front compared to an even man front differently?
What you would like to do, well, this is what Roger taught me. If the defense is even, you want to go odd on offense. If the offense is, or if the defense is odd, like a 3-4 or 50, then you want to be even most of the time on offense. And so we'll have a mixture of balanced and unbalanced formations. There's a variety that I can do. I can play tackles over and bring split end over. I can empty my backfield, leave the quarterback under center. Any of my formations are basically under center formations unless we're in our NASCAR package. Our NASCAR package is more of your traditional sneaker set, I guess is what a lot of coaches call it, where the fullback is in the guard tackle gap and the tailback is standing beside the quarterback. I would like to do a 2-minute offense like that, just in situations where we got to hurry up. But I don't want that to be our base, and I don't want the kids to rely on that. I want the kids to rely on the wing tee is the way to go. I am a wing tee believer. I support the wing tee, and it's just going to open up some doors for us. But I do understand that sometimes, just because of the amount of time that's on the clock or the situation, sometimes it may be okay to. You've gotten into a rhythm. I like this on my defensive coach too. We're basically going to be an even defense, but we're going to have a package to where we can go odd. And I wanted to be able to do that. Let's say a team starts driving on us, and you don't want to take a timeout, but you want to throw a little wrench in the plan, so you bounce into your odd front. And so you want the kids to need to be able to execute both, because you don't want to jump in that odd front and give up a 70-yard touchdown. But you need to throw the offensive rhythm off. And so offensively, I want to have a variety of formations to where maybe 1 or 2 kids is moving around, but it looks like I'm running different plays, but I'm not. And so you limit your plays so that you can run a variety of formations. And so I'm trying to get into a situation to where we can split our tight end out sometimes. Sometimes we can just bring in another split end and have 2 split end types in the game. But it's not really changing what we're doing offensively, just the look.
Would you say you're 70-30 run the pass or 60-40, or what are you, 80-20, or?
I'd like to say now.
What would you like to
Well,
say?
Hey, he says you're just gonna have to watch the film midway through.
Here's what
He wants to say this, but he actually becomes this.
part of the quarterback in me. And you have quarterbacks calling plays, so sometimes they want the quarterback to pass. And Coach Rush, who's coming with me, has been with me for a long time. And we are primarily a run team. when I was at Beach and coach was letting me call, I was defense and then another coach was offense, and we were there together. And ironically, we was playing White House. So at the end of the White House game, we came in. Coach said, "Y'all passed too much." What are you talking about, Coach? You passed too much. We threw 3 passes. You passed too much. Like, run the ball. And so I like to say that I'm a run the ball coach, but at the same time, if the situation presents itself, what I teach my quarterback to do, I want him to ball fake, and I've told him, like, man, if you can get the referee in the white hat to blow the play dead because he can't find the ball, there's no way the defense is finding the ball because the white hat is standing right there. I said, I would try to do that. That was my goal in a ball game, is to try to keep the white hat from figuring out where the ball was. And he's back there seeing it snapped. I said, if you can hide it from him, man, you're doing a great job. But his next thing is when we run certain plays, part of his fakes are his bootleg route. And so I've always relied on my quarterback, once we get into a good relationship, is to let me know when that corner is not where he's supposed to be. Because if the corner is not paying attention on the backside, the bootleg pass is coming. And so when I send that bootleg pass in, the quarterback should already know what that corner's been doing.
Right.
And he should have a pretty good idea whether he's going to be able to throw that pass or not. But I would, if I had to give a percentage, I'm going to say 70% run.
Okay. Defensively, are you a bend, don't break? Or are you blitz heavy? My philosophy about blitzing is a lot of times you can make the big play. It's high risk, high reward. Right.
The more you blitz, the bigger the chance is that you're going to blitz yourself out of a play. And I want our kids to know that they can line up, and what we're teaching them is sound, and what they're doing is successful, and they can have faith in that. And if we want the big play, then occasionally call the blitz. But I don't want our kids to rely on. We just have to blitz,
right?
Because if you're blitzing a lot, then your conditioning better be.
Yeah.
You know, if the kid's not really, if they're crying and complaining about running sprints, but then you're blitzing every play. It's kind of like if you're in a shotgun running 4 verts every play on offense, you better have more than 4 receivers.
Better have 8 receivers.
Yeah, because the conditioning is going to come around.
What is your philosophy after a turnover? You get a turnover on defense, your offense goes out there, are you going for a dagger in the heart there, or are you going to sit there and just kind of run your offense?
It's going to depend on where the ball, if we're on our side of the 40, the last thing I want to do is go out there and give the momentum back to the defense. I think that when you get someone's head down with our style of offense, another thing that is demoralizing is continuing to get first downs because they're staying the clock when they don't have the ball, and their prize receivers and quarterbacks over there on the sideline crying and complaining about the last turnover. And but I do think sometimes you need to break the mold. You know, everybody thinks wing tee is 3 yards in a cloud of dust, and the wing tee that I know is not all the time 3 yards. There is times where yes, it is 3 yards. There's been games where I've kept the ball the entire quarter. I've gone on 20 play drives, but there's also times where, hey, we ran the ball for the last 2 possessions. Let's start this possession off with a bootleg pass, because that DB is getting tired of seeing, you're split in go and not do nothing. So you catch him napping, it just takes one. So,
what is you got something? Oh, I thought you said. How do you go about adjusting mid-game if something's not working?
Well, you sit down with your coaches, number one, and try to figure out why something is not working. Maybe they're playing a new defense, and your kids are kind of confused, because that's going to happen. There's coaches on the other side that have said, okay, we've been having this package, so we're going to employ this package this week, and it's not the defense that you're used to seeing. And so, number one, your blocking rule system better be where the rules are there, instead of, hey, you got to block ends,
Yeah.
or you got to block the tackles. You know, what's your rule? And sometimes your calls need to change. Instead of running like buck 30X, as an example, maybe you need to run a gut kind of scheme, or a cog. I call it cog, where the center blocks and the guard wraps underneath him. That way, you're not just pulling all the time. I run a belly G. Sometimes I run belly M. Belly M tells everybody to man block. So sometimes the linebackers will read pulling guards, and they just shoot in your hole.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you man block them, he's not pulling anymore. Now he's firing straight off, but you can still run your belly. So you can have different schemes, and it's not where the kid's having to pull out a Rolodex. It's just, okay, do I G block or do I M block?
Yeah.
And you better have A, B, and C plan, because you're probably going to use A, B, and C in all
But
situations.
that also goes back to what you said earlier, where it doesn't matter if you're a sophomore or you're not a starter. You better know what your plays are, because it helps a lot for the kids to come off the field and go, hey coach, this linebacker's doing this when I do this, or they're not doing what we thought they were. This is what they're doing, and then that also helps with adjustments. It's just not you and the coaches trying to figure everything out, but the kids can come over to the sidelines and let you know what's going on, and they can't do that if they don't know what they're doing. So,
and if you don't have a good relationship with them,
Yeah.
they're afraid. I don't want our kids to be afraid to talk, and I don't want them to be I'm not saying be oppositional to a coach. That's not what I'm saying. But if a kid is seeing something from his position, it's, I don't have a problem with my quarterback coming in to me and saying, "Hey, coach, that corner, he's biting hard." Well, he better be biting hard, because if I call a bootleg pass and he's dropping into his deep third, then me and my quarterback's gonna have issues. But hopefully, I have taught him during the week, and he's comfortable with our relationship with one another, and I'm comfortable to where we trust one another. And then most of the time I'm gonna have a coach in the box that when I say a certain thing, this is what you're looking for, and when he sees it, this is what we do opposite. So I think that's the beauty of the wing tee. It has a lot of, if this happens, do this, and you can kind of promote that along the way with your program. The way I like to practice, I think, contributes to some of my success I've had in the past. I'm not we're going to be 45 minutes of team defense, and then we're going to be 25, just stay. What I like to do is I like to kick the ball off with a kickoff team, a couple of kicks, then we'll go individual defense for about 5 minutes, then do another special team. So I'm bouncing back and forth. So kids are going in the game, out of the game, we're changing. I think that's the way games are played. And I think it keeps them from getting just, for lack of a better word, bored. And, maybe my JV is working offense this period, and my varsity kids are working defense this period. So I'm running our plays in the spring versus the varsity defense, and then I'm running a kickoff team out there, and we're kicking and catching, and we're doing individual stuff together, and then we're going to something else. So we're changing. And so what I will do team offense wise, I usually do a 10-minute period at the start, and then I do about a 20-minute period at the end. And so my 10 minutes, I take the football and I put it as close to the goal line as I can get it. And if the kids don't get out there when I call them to, I just back it up even further. But we drive the ball from a half-inch yard line all the way out. And coach has his defense. And in the spring, it'll be our defense that he's working against. But of course, whoever we're playing, that will slow it down a little bit.
yeah.
And I've heard a college coach say, if you can get kids to operate your scout team correctly 30% of the time, you're doing good. And so I like to drive the ball up and down the field. We'll do individual drills, we'll do group drills inside. We'll do the same stuff that everybody does. I just want to do it where it's broke up and where teams are coming in and out. That way, when we get in the ball game and you have your quick change of possession, but we practice this. So
That's a good point.
here we go. days, I go out there, put the ball down at the end, and say, all right, it's 4th and 16, and we've got to kick the ball. We're ahead by 1, and we've got to kick the ball out of our own end zone. And I'm going to put 12 guys over there and try to block it. We can't let this punt get blocked. So, and we just play different games. Like, I know.
No, what I'm laughing at is because the next question I got, you laid it out there. So here's the situation, Coach. It's 3rd down. It's 4th down. 4th down. You got 3 yards to go. You're on the 16-yard line. You're down by 5. No timeouts. You gotta get the first down and you go. You gotta score. Going against White House. What's your call?
I'm going to go Delaware right, and I'm running ride 35, which is a weak side double, but I'm taking my tight end and I'm moving him out. So
Get another guy out of the box.
pulls the guy out of the box, but it looks like points. And if I ran Delaware during the week or during that particular game, I might take my tight end and put him where the left tackle is, and take the tackle and line him up there where the tight end is. Because a lot of times when you break the huddle, kids just see 2 players.
Yeah, they ain't looking at numbers or anything like that.
Looking at numbers. And so we can always run a wiggle pass back to the tight end side in that situation.
In your opinion, what makes a great leader?
I think somebody that has confidence, he knows what he's doing, but also someone that is a team player first. And I know you need leaders that are for personal gain. You do. I say this all the time. Teachers come to me in school and like, so and so, he's just being in jersey class. But in football, everybody can't be, it's not a social club. Everybody, you've got to have some kids that live on the edge, and they can be leaders too. You just have to find out what they can be a leader at. Some of them are leaders to leave practice and they run. That's when you see them running. So what you do, you just take your huddle and you leave it to the other end of the field. That way, when you break the huddle down, he's got further he has to run, and he has no idea he's doing that. But then there's some kids that they don't want you to say anything to them. They want to be leaders, but they don't want to be singled out.
Right.
And so you just try to find things that they can do where maybe nobody else knows. But then at the end, you're like, man, I appreciate you doing that. I think I'm kind of like that. I don't like the limelight, but I don't like the sound of my voice, and I don't look for situations to where people accolade me. I don't want that. I want the kids. I want Alex Niswander. I want them to talk about what a great quarterback he's going to be. Probably going to be the QB. And I want people to talk about what a great quarterback he is and what a great athlete he is. And I want him to be a leader. And he shows that. He shows that. Matt, Will Caudell. I keep calling him Matt. I don't know why. But Will.
He does look like a Matt now that you mention that. Yeah.
But Will can be, he's going to be phenomenal. He's phenomenal. He's going to be a phenomenal leader. He's like, he comes in and, he's in basketball. And when unfortunately, when we lost, he came the next day to football. And I said, well, you need to take some time. We're in football and we went right to basketball. And now you're trying to come right back. And he was telling me, he got burnt out a little bit. I totally understand that. See, you got to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
But some of these kids are just so selfless. Like he didn't. He came into the weight room and he didn't just jump head first the first day. He jumped head first the second day. And I mean that's a great kid.
Yeah.
It's a great kid. It's a great attitude. And he's willing to do anything. He takes quarterback snaps. He wants to play tight end. He's encouraging the kids. Every day I see him when I walk in the door, how's your day, coach? You have a good day? Yeah. I'm like, when you get to football, that's the best part of your day, in my opinion, outside of seeing my wife. That's the best part of my day. And I want them to feel the same way too. I don't want a kid sitting in his math class dreading football practice.
Yeah.
I want a kid to say, I can't wait. In fact, you know, if the math teacher, and now Dr. Wood might be mad, but if the math teacher comes to coach your kids and you're so excited about coming to football, awesome,
Yeah.
awesome, you know. And I want them to feel that way, and I want to feel that way. I want my coaches to feel that way. I want them to be excited about being there. I want the town to be excited about coming to the ball game on Friday night.
Mm-hmm.
They can't wait to get here, and it can be that way. It's just a great situation, great setting, and so there's good things coming.
What is the, in your opinion, the most underrated position, and why?
The most underrated?
Yeah.
I might say defensive tackle would be. Coach Walker would probably agree with me.
Because they don't get the stats,
I would agree
but
with you.
They don't.
you got to have that. Yeah.
You better be nasty.
Because, I mean, I can tell you from last year, Avery got and Avery deserved all of what he got and everything, and he got the stats. But it also helped having someone like Kyron in the middle, eating up all the stuff that he was eating up, you know, and pushing the stuff out there to Avery to let him make the play and everything. So,
I mean,
I agree.
you say Reggie White, Albert Hainsworth, maybe, before he went off the deep end. But Nick Fairley, I was an Auburn fan, so Nick Fairley. But, you know, how many defensive tackles can you name?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, but you better have defensive tackles, because if you don't, they're never getting to your stars.
Yeah.
These next questions be kind of rapid questions. It's kind of, we do this with the students also when the athletes, when we have them here. But favorite food?
Banana pudding. I love banana. I could eat banana pudding 24/7. I have the words bad and banana pudding do not exist together.
So, are you a homemade banana pudding? Your wife makes it, or is it somewhere you want to go and get it?
I love my wife's banana pudding. She makes great banana pudding. I hope she's listening, because I hadn't had banana pudding in a while. But I have never. I will drive to get banana pudding. We went to a banana pudding festival last year outside of Murfreesboro.
Really?
Yes. Yes. Now they put some cinnamon. To me that is not banana pudding.
No, I've heard that. Yes.
You do not have to add things to have good banana pudding.
What is your favorite restaurant?
The banana pudding shop
and
cafe.
I'm going to say Zaxby's.
Really? What's your go-to meal when you go?
I'm going to get the buffalo chicken. I just like it. I like Zaxby's better than I do Chick-fil-A. Now my wife probably would say Longhorn Steakhouse. I like Zaxby's. I'm simple.
What is the most intense game you ever coached in?
Most intense. Up to this point, we played probably 2007. We were I was at station camp, and we were playing Pearl Cone, and Pearl had beat us the year before, and we were 9-0 going into Pearl Cone. Winner, number one in the region, or you had to have White House lose to Greenbrier for us. Pearl had beat White House, and so last game of the year, and of course if you've been to Pearl's band comes rolling in middle of the first quarter, and it's so loud. And for some reason, I'd played against Pearl when I coached at Beach, but we always played Pearl week 4, and Pearl was not in shape. And so when I was at Beach, we would always beat Pearl Cone. And when I got to station camp, we struggled. And they had beat us the first 2 years when we were in the region with them. And so you're playing in November, and Pearl is in shape. And when Pearl's in shape, Pearl can hang with anybody. And so that was you could have cut the tension with a knife, and we didn't have success that night. We wound up losing, and luckily, Greenbrier kicked a field goal late in the game to beat White House 17-14, and we won the region that year. And up till now, I believe that's the only time Station Camp has won a region championship. Was that year.
In your opinion, what is one thing that fans do not understand about coaching?
I don't think they understand a lot of times that a coach he's trying to do what's best for the entire program. And I think sometimes they think coaches are out there trying to make a decision for personal glory and self-efficacy. I have not had that experience. I've had great men who just sacrificed enough. I didn't realize how much time coaching took when I played until I started coaching myself. And I really appreciate the men who poured into me as a coach and the time that it took that they did. And I just don't think that a fan, I wouldn't say a parent, but a fan just understands exactly what it is that a coach does time-wise, decision-wise. You lay awake at night wondering if the decisions you make and it's not just your star player. It's the player that doesn't really want to be there. It's if he wants to call himself a football player. And I know when I've had a stressful night or a week, I get mouth sores like an ulcer.
Mm-hmm.
And if I start doing that, I know I'm worrying too much.
Mm-hmm.
And when people ask me, "How's your week going?" If I do that, I've had a good week.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. Athletes, I love football players. I support all. I support all athletes. I've just always done that. It's all I've ever known. And I've got a great wife, very supportive. She understands, and it's just a lot of time. And I don't know. I think a lot of coaches who stay in this long enough, if they're going to be successful, they're doing this because they want to see the kids succeed, as opposed to a personal accolade.
So that's going to lead into my last question, and that's going to be, what is your favorite thing about coaching football?
My favorite thing is just being a part of a kid's life. I can't, 30 years, I can't believe I've quit coaching and teaching for 30 years now. And like this is it. But there's just nothing like being involved in a young kid's life and just having a relationship with them and seeing them be successful, regardless of whether your team wins. I've got kids that I keep up with, and we didn't have very successful seasons, but I'm just as invested in those kids as I am the kids that made it to the state championship games. And this is just a small part of life, and it's going to be memories. And I tell my guys this, that I can't really remember what I had for breakfast yesterday, but I can remember what I did on the second series versus Douglas High School when I was a sophomore. It's weird, and I don't know if a lot of people understand that. Football is it's an awesome game, and it just opens many doors for you. And it's just a lifetime of memories. And there's places I go that I may not have a lot in common with people, but when I sit down and we talk about football, I'm like, okay, we're football players, so you got that, and you can tell war stories from the football days. And it's just a brotherhood.
Yeah. Well, Coach, we appreciate you coming by today and giving us 2 hours of your time on this Saturday. And like I said, it's going to be a nice Saturday and everything, but we really do appreciate it. Can't wait for spring practice to start. I'll be out there watching and everything, and definitely on the 24th when y'all will be your purple and white, definitely be here to watch. And I'm sure half the town will be out to watch to see what you've got coming in, what's going to be happening in the fall, and then definitely come fall, being a part of it. We'll see each other. I guess Andy will be seeing you doing the coaches show during the fall and everything. But again, thank you for coming in here, taking the time, making this easy. I mean, the questions were easy there. Love all the answers that you gave. I know that we even got an audience come in already, so come by and stop by live there. So, but we appreciate you coming in today. For Kyle Eaton and Coach Almendares, you're listening to Sports Saturday on Important Sports Network. And as always, go Panthers.